All right, we're gonna get into the 2014 AP Macro FRQ. Finished up 2013 yesterday, so we'll start in 2014 today. We're gonna do the long essay. All of this 2014 long essay is fair game, so there's none of the Unit 6 stuff on there. And it's a good long essay because it includes a lot of Units 3 and 4 stuff, which is what I think you're gonna see. All right, so pause the video, go do just, the Google search 2014 AP Macro FRQ. You're doing the long essay, which is number 1, and then I'm going to go over it. Okay, number 1 says, assume the United States economy is currently operating below the full employment level of real GDP with a balanced budget. If they bring in the words balanced budget, that normally doesn't mean much of anything. So don't worry about that. Really what you're concerned with is, okay, it's operating below full employment. All right. Think of that. I when I see words like this where it gets kind of wordy and it's operating below the full employment level. Think of that production possibilities curve. Are you below the curve? Are you on the curve? Are you above the curve? Or think of that business cycle. That's the one where you get, it almost looks like a roller coaster or something where you see GDP goes up and down over time. Right? Are you that full employment line is that straight line, and then you have the curved one that goes on top of it. If you're below the full employment straight line, right? What's going on with your economy? You're in a recession. So when you draw the correctly labeled graph of the aggregate demand, short run aggregate supply and long run aggregate supply curve, and show each of the following United States, it should look like this over here. So this is exactly how it should look. All right. No, we're not drawing graphs, but being that they've said that you're going to want to be drawing graphs off to the side, this is still an important skill to make sure we're practicing. All right. The United States government, so I'm at part B, the United States government increases spending on goods and services by $100 billion, which is financed by borrowing. How will the increase in government spending affect each of the following? Cyclical unemployment. Cyclical unemployment will decrease. So they say over here in part B is 2 points. 1 point is earned for stating that cyclical unemployment will decrease. They're not asking for an explanation, so you need to provide one. What's going to happen to the natural rate of unemployment? Well, if you watched my video yesterday, you should feel pretty good about that now. 1 point is earned for stating that the natural rate of unemployment will not change. What is the natural rate of unemployment in the United States? It is 4 to 6% unemployed. Who are these 4 to 6% unemployed people? It is those that are structurally unemployed. In other words, there's been technological advancement, their skills are no longer needed. And it is those that are frictionally unemployed, meaning they have left a job to look for another, or they've graduated from school and they are just simply looking for a job. Okay, point being is they can get one, it just takes a little time to get a job. Your natural rate of unemployment would not be impacted by an increase in government spending. What is the only thing that can impact the natural rate of unemployment? Something happens to welfare benefits or unemployment compensation. All right, so you got none of that going on here, so nothing's going to happen to that natural rate of unemployment. All right. Part C, you're going to get into some calculations here. If the marginal propensity to consume, the MPC, is equal to 0.75, calculate the maximum possible change in real GDP that could result from a $100 billion increase in government spending. All right, you have your MPC. You want to get your MPS, the marginal propensity to save. That is 0.25. So if you come and look over here, 1 over 0.25 is 4. 4 times 100 billion that the government has spent, meaning it's going to impact GDP. It's going to increase GDP 400 billion. All right. All right, now they got you getting into the loanable funds market. Using a correctly labeled graph of the loanable funds market, show the effect of the $100 billion increase in government spending on the real interest rate. All right. Okay, there are 2 possible correct answers for this. I taught you guys the demand side. Ignore this over here. Okay, so they have supply decreasing, causing the real interest rate to go up, or they will take demand increasing, causing the real interest rate to go up. Either one of those is correct. I taught it on the demand side because I just think that makes a little bit more sense. If the government is borrowing, that means they are demanding loans, right? They are demanding loans. So the demand for loanable funds is going up, causing the real interest rate to go up. All right. So there's your correctly labeled graph showing that $100 billion increase in government spending. If the government is, right, and they're saying they're financing by borrowing. In other words, they are getting this money by borrowing it. They're demanding loanable funds. The demand for loanable funds is going to go up, right? Causing the real interest rate to go up. Based on the real interest rate change in Part D, what is the effect on the long-run economic growth rate? Explain. I could definitely see this showing up May 18th. Something where the interest rate, I told you this in a previous video, the interest rate does something. Now what's going to happen to the long-run economic growth rate? All right. They're saying, we are in Part E. Based on the real interest rate change in Part D, what is the effect on the long-run economic growth rate? Explain. 1 point is earned for explaining that the higher real interest rate will slow down capital formation. In other words, here's what capital formation is. Companies are going to buy less physical capital, so the economic growth rate is going to go down. All right, interest rates are going to go up. Businesses are going to borrow less. Investment spending is going to go down. So businesses are not going to borrow to expand their physical capital. That is going to go down. So the long-run economic growth rate is going to go down. They're calling that capital formation. You do not need to do that. You just simply need to say what I said, which is interest rate goes up, investment spending goes down. Businesses are borrowing less. That means they're not buying as much physical capital. Therefore, the long-run economic growth rate is going to decrease. Okay, now assume that instead of financing the $100 billion increase in government spending by borrowing, the United States government increases taxes by $100 billion. With this capital increase in government spending and taxes, will the real GDP increase, decrease, or remain the same? Explain. This is kind of tough. All right, so here's what you need to work out. If the government spends, we know it's going to be $400 billion increase to GDP. Now, if they finance that through they financed that through borrowing, but now they're saying they're financing that by taxing the public $100 billion. And you may say to yourself, well, 100 minus 100 is going to mean it just remains the same. You take 100 away from people and then spend 100, it should net out at zero. Well, that's not true. And the reason being is because your spending multiplier and your tax multiplier are going to be different, right? The tax multiplier is one less than the spending multiplier. So 4 times 100 is going to be a $100 billion increase to GDP from that spending, but the tax multiplier is one less than the spending multiplier. So the tax multiplier is 3. 3 times 100 means you're taking out potentially $300 billion in spending, but now you're adding $400 billion in spending. So you're going to get an increase by $100 billion in spending. All right, they say it over here. 1 point is earned for explaining that the expansionary effect of the increase in government spending outweighs the contractionary effect of the increase in taxes of the same size. Or students may explain by calculating the net increase in GDP, $100 billion, or stating the tax multiplier is smaller than the spending multiplier. All right, I hope that makes sense. We'll continue this until this thing hits May 18th. You'll see another one tomorrow.